Musser on your left, Ross on your right. It's Eldrazi versus 8-Rack. Again, these players did play in Syracuse last month. Musser did win that tournament with Eldrazi. Then he top-8'd in Richmond. A little bit after that, wasn't able to go back-to-back wins, but back-to-back top-8s isn't too bad. Now he's got an Expedition map to kick off game number 1. For Tom, it's an Inquisition of Kozilek. You'll find a hand here with 2 Walking Ballista, a Dismember, an Endbringer, and Urza's Power Plant to go along with the Urza's Mine that's on the battlefield. And the Expedition map is pretty much reserved for an Urza's Tower at this point.
Yep. I mean, this is a beautiful hand here for Musser with some stuff to do and a path to Tron and a big play. But if Tom has smallpox on the draw, that's just a lot to overcome.
Walking Ballista selected there by Inquisition of Kozilek. Musser's going to search up a tower, which means Tron will be online next turn, unless Tom has some sort of answer for it. These two play in a lot of the same tournaments, pretty good friends at this point. And I'm sure that Tom knew what Dan was playing and vice versa, as here is a Raven's Crime. Raven's Crime will mean that Dismember goes to the graveyard, and now here is another Raven's Crime. Musser's hand under duress. There goes Walking Ballista. We go back over to Dan Musser. He'll draw a card. Picked up another Urza's Land, excuse me. Now the question is, will Musser go to Endbringer here? Because if he does and he gets smallpox, he's in a little bit of trouble here, Patrick.
Yeah, it's over. But if you get hit by a, I guess with the, the problem is that if he gets hit by a smallpox and plays the Walking Ballista, he still doesn't have Tron for the Endbringer the next turn. So
well, he drew another Tron piece. His hand is Tron piece of land.
Okay.
So he would lose a creature. He would lose. I'm not sure what he would lose out of his hand.
He would have 2 cards in hand, so he would have to lose either the Tron piece or the Endbringer, and he gets Stone Rained.
Okay. Well,
so
yeah. Well, you want to talk about perfect here for Tom. Tom plays another Raven's Crime, makes Musser discard a card, discards an Urza's Land, and now he plays a land in Mutavault, which taps for a black because of Urborg, and now here's Smallpox. So now Musser's hand is gone.
And now this is really the beauty of the deck here from Ross's side. Why would you play a deck like this? Because when you have your best draws, it literally does not matter what the text boxes are on your opponent's cards.
Mm-hmm.
You discard everything they have that's relevant. You have a bunch of edicts. You don't care about keywords on creatures at all. And Musser had turn 3 Tron, plenty of threats, and now he's just down to 2 lands.
Yeah, there's Wrench Mine going to take care of Thought Knots here, pass the turn back. That's a land. Looks like it's just another. I think Tron might be online there. We can confirm here. In for 2. It is not Tron. I think it might be Tron now.
Playing with different art Tron.
Shameful. Well, it's going to be a lot of draw go here. In for 2 more. That's a removal spell. Dismember is going to take care of Mutavault. There's a Swamp Pass to turn back. Musser will draw. See what this is. Relic Progenitus. Yeah, he's got Tron online now, so he'll draw a card. He'll play another tower, maybe. Yep, pass the turn back. So he's got all the mana. He's just got to find a threat. Well, Tom's found a threat now in the rack, and that's a big one.
But Musser drawing very live.
Matter Reshaper, do you cast it? Looks like the answer is yes. I mean, you can't hold it. He'll make you discard anything. He's got Raven's Crime in his graveyard. Well, Raven's Crime is gone from his graveyard, but you have to assume that he's got discard spells. Reality Smasher, pretty good draw. Can he do this fast enough?
If you cast the Matter Reshaper, I think you got to cast the Reality Smasher, right?
I think so too.
So it's 8. I mean, right now the race is bad for him. It's 8-16.
And here's Dismember on Reality Smasher. Tom will pay the cost. Dan's got to peel Karn now.
Or Ulamog or whatever, yeah.
Yeah, that's basically what it is now. See what he draws. He falls down to 2. He drew the Dustbuster. Oh, that's not going to do it right now.
Beautiful.
So now what Dan needs to have happen is he needs his Matter Reshaper to die, which it's not going to, because he would keep the card in his hand, and the rack will bring him down to 1. However, a top deck rack there from Tom Ross means that Lex Luger is too tough.
Yep, tapped out.
He is just too tough, as 8-Rack is going to win in game number 1 here over Dan Musser and his Eldrazi deck. The boss with what one could say is almost a perfect draw there in game number 1.
And fended off Musser's almost perfect draw from his end, too.
Yeah.
Just ripped it apart, didn't matter what the text boxes were.
A couple copies of Raven's Crime. Smallpox going to take care of the Endbringer, break up Tron, and take the last card in Musser's hand. And just that easy. Tom Ross does win game number 1 on the draw against Dan Musser playing Eldrazi Tron. We go to the sideboards here. Musser's sideboard will look familiar to those who have been keeping up with the SCG Tour and watch Dan win with this Eldrazi Tron deck. 2 Surgical Extraction, 2 Pithing Needle, 2 Warping Whale, 2 Ratchet Bomb, 2 Blight Herder. That's a new one, along with 2 Relic Progenitus, a Grafdigger's Cage, a Ghost Quarter, and a Witchbane Orb.
I love the Ratchet Bombs here, as Ross is trying to win the game by flooding the table with some cheap cards. It's something he can just cast and leave on the table. Can we get a read on Witchbane Orb? I think it's good here.
Witchbane Orb, you get hexproof. Artifact.
Cool.
4 mana. Just it's an Ivory Mask.
Sounds good.
Well, I guess not expensive for this deck.
No.
Not expensive for this deck.
And once you're protected, then, that's good.
It's a good one of.
Yeah.
For the boss, we got 4 Leyline of the Void, 4 Delirium Skynes, who, when we asked him why he's playing this card, actually makes some sense.
Leyline of Sanctity.
Yeah, white Leyline, I guess that also means Witchbane Orb too.
Yep.
But also against decks like Scapeshift and Storm and stuff, they do not want to discard 3 cards.
Right, decks that are really leaning on a critical mass or decks with white Leyline. Sounds what it was there for.
And Tom doesn't care.
Right.
He doesn't need any cards in his hand. He's got 2 Death Shadow, 2 Bond to his last Reckoning, a Fatal Push, a Shadow of Doubt, and Asylum Visitor. Has a nice little fun of there. Anything jump out to you here?
Bontu's Last Reckoning.
Okay.
That seems great. I think pretty light sideboarding otherwise.
Well, both players going to shuffle up here for game number 2. Tom Ross does win game 1 with old 8-rack. And we're going to talk about the Season 2 schedule of the SCG Tour. Not a ton of dates left here in Season number 2. Of course, we had our invitational weekend back in June and July. It feels like forever ago now that we watched Brian Colville win that invitational. We had our Cincinnati Open weekend. We did Atlanta. We did Syracuse. We did Richmond. We're here in Louisville. And then we'll go to Dallas for the Ixalan release weekend. Should be a lot of fun.
And after that, we'll have Modern in Charlotte. And after that, we will have Modern in Cincinnati. Legacy Open in DC at the end of October. Regional Championships November 4. Again, go to starcitygames.com/regionals. Find more information about that event. Teams in Baltimore.
Oh yeah, look at the change in voice here.
Be running it back. Me and my little homies, Chad Castell and Robert Vaughn. And then after that, shortly thereafter, Season 2 Invitational, Richmond, Virginia, December 1 through 3 with Standard and Modern as the Invitational formats.
We got playmats, of course, for our Standard, Opens, and Classics. It will be Bantu in Invitation form, not invitational form, Invocation form. For our Modern Opens and Classics, it'll be the very beautiful Spell Pierce. And then for our Legacy Opens and Classics, it will be Days. All of these playmats free and exclusive with entry in any Season 2 Open or Classic. Team Open, huh? Feeling pretty good about that?
Well, I got it. After the banning to Divining Top, I have not really been following too much of what people are playing, so I got to wait, get some more information, see if if I should be main decking Searing Blazes or not. All the things that informs.
You're still the Legacy member of the team, right? You're still the Burn member of the team. This is what's going on here.
Well, we have Rob, who's up to date on Standard generally.
Generally, yes.
And we have Chad, who just always wants to just play his Obs on cards.
Obs on garbage.
Obs on cards.
Yeah.
And then that leaves me, and that's good.
that leaves me. It's great.
That leaves me.
What would we have to do to get you to play like Grixis Delver in that Legacy tournament?
Hand me the cards.
Yeah.
You would have to hand me the cards. No foils. No foils.
Okay. Would we have to fill out the deck list for you?
No, I'd fill it out.
Okay. Well, I feel like you don't get to play much competitive Magic anymore. I feel like you get some real enjoyment out of playing Burn and Legacy.
I do.
So I don't want to take away from your enjoyment of the 2 times you play a year.
Right.
So I don't know if you'd play Grixis Delver.
If my teammates were like, seriously, we need you to play a real deck, and we got you the cards,
then you would do it.
Then I think I'd do it.
All right, you can pony up then. That's fine. Eldrazi Temple is going to get an Expedition map. We're underway here in game number 2. It's Nerdborg here for the boss. And he's got the rack. Lock it in. What he doesn't have is a discard spell to be able to beat a Chalice right now, it appears. There's his land. And Musser will just pass the turn back. So, Wrench Mind in Tom Ross's hand right now. He could fire that off this turn if he'd like. Is 8-rack secretly good? That's the question.
The issue with the Wrench Mine here is it's reasonable Musser could have an artifact in his hand.
Absolutely.
So he may want to try to work him down a little bit before hitting him with the Wrench Mine.
But what artifact would it be?
Some sort of...
Is it another map? If he had a Chalice, he would cast it. You know, there's a Raven's Crime.
A Relic of Progenitus.
Could still have that potentially after sideboard. Does take care of Raven's Crime. Does let you draw a card.
A Walking Ballista.
That's another one.
Not saying it's super likely, but I like, if you don't care about the lands, I'd rather work down with Raven's Crime a little bit before hitting with the Wrench Mine.
Okay.
Because there's, you know, I'm not saying the odds are high, but there's a chance that there's an artifact hanging out in Musser's hand.
Musser going to sacrifice his Expedition map. He's going to search up a land here. We'll see what land he wants to go get. Looks like it might be the Urza's Tower of Power. It is. So he'll add that to his hand. He'll shuffle, present. We'll go over to Dan. SCG Syracuse champion.
Having 12 different Tron lands is just so egregious.
I'll have to have a talk with him about that.
Because it's the type of thing you do when you think you're really clever. You have to think you are so clever to do this.
Here's Thought Not Seer.
And you know what?
Yeah.
You're not.
You're not clever, are you? Goodbye, Liliana. Musser's going to lose a whole bunch of cards here in just a minute. Tom will draw. He's going to fire off Wrench Mine number 1. Musser's going to have to discard 2 cards or an artifact. So he's going to lose Thought Not Seer and a Waste, maybe. There those go. Now he's going to play Raven's Crime. Will Tom. So, I think he's going to lose a land here. Yeah, so now Musser's hoping to top deck to be able to play the Reality Smasher in his hand. Right now he's going to take a little bit of a blow there from the Rack and Shrieking Affliction. He drew the land. Here's the Reality Smasher. It's an attack for 9. And these 2 creatures should be able to race what Tom is doing. Tom's got some decent draws. Smallpox is one of them.
Smallpox is a great draw.
And that's exactly what he picked up, so he'll play a Smallpox. He'll lose a land. Musser's got to lose one of these cards.
And the Reality Smasher you don't want to really lose because Trample is very good against the chump blocking of Mutavault in this race. The Thought Not Seer, then Ross draws a card, and this is a...
This is tough.
I think you got to keep the... I feel like you got to keep the Reality Smasher, even at the risk of giving me a card, and just hope that Ross's draw steps are discard spells and lands. You just need to keep this clock going as much as you can.
Well, Ross is down to 10 because of the Smallpox damage.
Right, yeah.
That's important to note. Now, Mutavault can do a little chump blocking here, and the Rack and Shrieking Affliction can do some racing. Reality Smasher, the draw.
Can't do it.
Oh, this is also... Oh, wow, this is crazy. So, Musser is going to go down to 2 on his turn.
And then the Mutavault hit his lethal.
Yeah, so the Mutavault will bring him down to 6, and then he would die from Shrieking Affliction. Let me check. Shrieking Affliction deal 3, so down to 6, down to 3. So he'd go down to 1. So he can attack. He can attack. Tom will draw. There's Raven's Crime there, land here, in for 2, bring him down to 6, and then the Rack plus Shrieking Affliction is going to be enough to get it done. The boss, Tom Ross with 8 Rack, going to take care of Eldrazi Tron. Did a nice job of getting the Rack and Shrieking Affliction set up, made him discard his hand, timely Smallpox top deck.